I see this just about every time I log into YouTube, and I have to be honest with you, it kills me to see so many of you out there putting in tons and tons of hard work, but just struggling to find success. That said, there is a silver lining, and not to mention you are in very good company. I'll explain that here in a minute, but literally since the dawn of time, every YouTuber has struggled at some time or another to find success. And today I want to show you what has worked for me and thousands of other YouTubers who have found themselves in a rut but pulled themselves out. First of all, let's talk about the company you're in. I want to show you a couple channels here that have struggled to find success, but in the end have worked out. All right, this is one just recently on Channel Makers, how we made $97,000 in 1 month with 10,000 subs. The video just didn't do that great. Look at this. Estimated rank by views, 9 out of 10. Now you might be saying, well, you still got, more views than I'm getting. That's true. Maybe we are still getting more views than what you are actually getting, but 9 out of 10. That means that out of our last 10 videos, this was nearly one of the worst performers. Let's look at another one. This is Ryan Trahan. Many of you are probably familiar with Ryan. He just posted this on his channel. Look at the estimated rank by views. 10 out of 10. So think about where he's at. Yes, he's getting a lot of great views, but as far as the trajectory of his channel, in the last 10 videos he posted, this was the worst one. That probably doesn't feel great. Take a look at this one. This is Jerry Rig Everything, very large YouTuber, 9 out of 10. And this one, Mr. Beast, 10 out of 10. I took just screenshots of some of these creators' most recent videos, and so many of them were 8s, 9s, 10s out of 10. That's the place that you probably feel like you're at right now. I realize that these creators are maybe struggling on a different scale than you are, but again, going back to the fact that every creator is struggling to find success, I think that there's real value in understanding that because they have taken the same growth path that you are taking, and even though it is hard for you right now, you can still know that later on down the road, you will find higher levels of success, but even then, it's still gonna be a little bit of a difficult road. And that's okay. Before we go on any farther, please let me know in the comments where exactly you are in your growth on YouTube. Are you still looking to get 1,000 subscribers? Are you trying to get 4,000 watch hours? Maybe you just got monetized on your channel and you're looking for ways to expand your monetization. Let me know in the comments exactly where you are, so hopefully I can jump in and help you out wherever you're at. Now, at this point, you probably are asking yourself, so what? So, okay, I'm in the same boat as these larger creators. Great for me, I'm happy to be there with them. But what do I do about it? And that's the next step of this process. I'm gonna call this the assess phase. And I want you to take a step back and I want you to assess a couple of analytics here. We're gonna walk through them together. I would even encourage you, if you have a computer pulled up next to your phone or your phone pulled up next to your computer, to actually pull up some of your analytics as we're walking through this. So that would be awesome if you did. All right, we're gonna look at 3 key metrics here. The first one is click-through rate. Now, obviously, click-through rate is what is determining how many people are getting onto your video, right? Your video gets a certain number of impressions, and a certain percentage of those people who are seeing your video or impressing with your video. I don't know, that's kind of weird. The certain number of people are gonna click into your video, right? Now, what can we do to improve that? You might look and see where your channel's at. So clicking into the back end of your analytics in your YouTube studio, I want you to see a couple things. Number one, what is your channel-wide average click-through rate, okay? We're gonna hold that. That's gonna be important here in just a minute. Now, I also want you to now go look at your past 10 videos or so and go and see what your average click-through rate for that video is. There's something to be said about what the average on your channel is versus what the average on your videos are, right? Because YouTube's looking at your channel as a whole, but then also at every video individually. And so at some point, it's gonna be important for you to exceed what YouTube sees your channel as a whole, but also to improve your video's click-through rate on a video by video basis. So let's say your channel average is 3.5%, right? And you're going and looking through your videos and you see, okay, I have a 2.6% here, I have a 3.7, oh, and this one got a 5.9. Okay, that's really good. So that's gonna give you an idea, this thumbnail worked really well, or this topic was really interesting to my audience. And okay, I want you to note that down. That's gonna be the first thing you do. So you're gonna go through your last few videos, maybe 10, maybe 20, depending on how much time you have. And I want you to identify what we're gonna call outliers here. I want you to see which videos got a higher click-through rate, and I want you to note down the high click-through rate. I want you to see if there was anything different about your title and thumbnail that you did, but then I also want you to note down the topic and then maybe even 1 or 2 ideas of videos that you could do that are related to that topic now to see if you could kind of recreate that success. I think that would be really cool. So that's the first one, is click-through rate here. And the goal here is to bring up your channel average click-through rate, but then also the way to do that is just by bringing up your individual video click-through rate. Not every video is going to be successful, right? Even if you are trying everything possible to bring up your click-through rate. Some videos will have higher, some videos will have lower. That's just how it goes. I will say one thing though, the more you can publish, the more lines you have in the water and the more opportunity you have to get that click-through rate up. That's just a little side note, but I know it can be really hard to publish, but that is so key as we go to improve your channel. Another quick little fun thing that you could try is to just get as many people to click through as possible. Now, this isn't going to help your video necessarily perform better, but it could hone your thumbnail and title skills. So what I mean here is if you usually get a 3.5 click-through rate, what could you do to get a 10% click-through rate? Now you might think, well, I'd have to clickbait them pretty hard. Okay, well practice that. Practice getting to a level where you can actually get them so intrigued that they have to click. And then later on, you're going to figure out what you can do to get your content to match as closely as possible that promise that just makes people have to click, okay? So just another fun little side quest for you. Next up, we're gonna take a look at your audience retention, okay? So again, pull up your YouTube Studio here. This is really, really important. Again, want you to go look at your channel average audience retention. So how long on average across all your videos on your channel are people staying on your videos? Is it 1.5 minutes? Is it 2.5 minutes? Maybe it's 5.5 minutes and you do really long videos. Whatever it is, you have your average there. Now again, I want you to go back through your last 10 or 20 videos, really any video in the last 6 to 12 months. In that time frame, those are going to be good to look at. Anything older than that, probably not worth looking at, but anything in the last 6 to 12 months for all of this is probably gonna be A-okay. Okay, YouTube gives us an amazing tool here, and I'll show it here on screen. This is the YouTube retention graph, and many of you, I'm sure, have seen this, but I doubt most of you have given it the very intense and very specific thought that I want you to give it today. When you're looking at that audience retention graph, you can see that a lot of people drop off in the front, and then it kind of tapers off over time for the most part. Well, the goal is, after that big initial drop off, you want it to level off as quickly as possible and as high as possible. And then that will mean that hopefully more people will stay on your video just a little bit longer. But on that graph, there's just like these little ups and downs. Sometimes there's big ones, sometimes there's small ones, but if you see a big one, definitely look at that big one and figure out what was it that made people leave. But the way that I want you to look at it is even the small ones, even the teeniest little blips, you know, the blips down especially, what was it that got people to click off? And in the same place where you noted down your title and thumbnail ideas and some extra video ideas in the previous exercise that we did, I want you to note down what you think it could have been that got people to click off. You know, maybe you sneezed, or maybe you said something really weird, whatever it was. Maybe the graphic that you showed didn't match what you were talking about. Whatever it was, maybe your audio was bad, I want you to note down those things, just little improvements that you can make. And for the most part, it ends up just being a lot of little things that really impacts the viewer's experience. You might also note little things, like I see this all the time in my retention graphs, where I'll see little jumps. And what that usually means is people have skipped ahead a little bit, and a lot of times people skip ahead to where there's a different visual on screen. And so maybe that's a great opportunity for you to think, okay, maybe I should add a little more visual on screen or something like that. Again, it's all about looking for these little clues. It's probably not gonna be something huge and monumental, but it's the little things that really, really count. Because if you can get your average view duration on your video to go from 2.5 minutes to 3.5 minutes, there is such a huge impact with YouTube and the way the algorithm spreads your video, especially with watch time. If you ever ask Ricky about this, this is something he's very, very passionate about because he knows how important it is. He always advocates for having a little bit longer watch time and doing our best to get that extra watch time because YouTube and its algorithm cares so much about keeping people on platform and keeping them watching longer that if you can get an extra 30 or 45 seconds, even a minute of watch time, YouTube will start spreading your video so much further. Hot apple cider. Best fall drink. Fight me in the comments. Once you have all those things noted down, just those little things, next time you go to record your video, simply review them before you record and try and improve upon a couple of them. This isn't something that you're likely to fix all in one video and then everything starts working again perfectly. These are just small incremental things. And a lot of them, they're really hard to see before you start your filming. It really is after you publish that you start recognizing some of these things could have been better, or, oh, I wish I would have done that here or there. That's how I am too. And so if you're the same way, that's totally okay. What that means is you just need to review little things every single time before you film so that you can have an idea of what's going to work a little bit better next time, and then you can just implement it little by little. The last thing that I want you to look at are any videos in the last 6 to 12 months that just got significantly more views than what you've been getting normally. If you normally have 100 views, but you got 500 views, or even 300 views, if you normally get 1,000 views, but you got 5,000 views, anything that's like pretty significantly more, I want you to just make a list of those videos, list out the topic, go through their analytics, look at the click-through rate, look at the average view duration, and just see if you can figure out, was there anything that made a difference here? A little secret, something that works really well, is making your videos just a little bit longer. People these days on YouTube are really liking longer videos. And so if you can make your video a little bit longer, that honestly just gets people to watch a little bit longer naturally, and that can help give your videos just a little bit of a boost. When you go to look at these videos that have just done better, I want you to really seriously consider trying to do related videos to those again. Now, if it's something that doesn't really fit your channel or you've pivoted away from that type of content, of course, you don't have to go back to it. But if it's something that you could legitimately see yourself or your channel having that type of content, then go try it again. So many times when I talk to people and I look at their channels, I say, well, look, you had this video do really well, but I don't see any other related content. And they go, well, yeah, it just really wasn't the focus. That's okay if it wasn't the focus at the time, but once you start getting some of these analytics, you need to follow them. You need to see what's actually working from an analytical standpoint so that you can repeat that success over and over. And if you don't have any of these analytics on your channel, go look at other similar channels in your niche. Go find the closest channel to what you want yours to be and look at some of their videos that have done really well. You're not gonna be able to see all of their statistics, but you can go on sites like ViewStats. What's the other one? I always forget the name of the other one. The other one that we'll probably put on screen here if I can remember. There's just a couple sites where you can go and kind of see trajectory of their channel or specific videos, and that can help you understand what types or styles or topics of content work really well for the audience that you want to get on YouTube. The last stage of this process is the pivot stage. This is where you're just going to go make an improvement. I'm not saying you have to totally 360 your channel, but I want you to take what you've done and I want you to try to implement. And in some cases that will mean a bigger pivot. In some cases, it might just be a micro pivot, and that is okay. If you've been doing like medium length videos, 5 to 10 minutes, and those don't seem to be working great, maybe try a 4-minute video and see if something shorter works better. Or try 15-minute videos and see if those happen to work a little bit better. Like I mentioned a little earlier, you might try changing the style of content. Maybe you've been doing really strict, hard education videos, and maybe you need to add a little bit more of a connection style in there where people can really feel like they get to know you a little bit. It can be subtle, it can be less subtle. It depends on what you want, but just be willing to try something new. It's when we start pushing the boundaries of what we're comfortable with and what we've been doing that we will always find more improvement because we're moving outside of what we've done before. Another perfect example of this is my personal YouTube channel. It's in the finance space, and when I started the channel, I really wanted it to be very kind of tutorial, helpful finance topics that really everyday average people could connect with. But they ended up being pretty dry and boring, and they just had a really hard time getting traction because it's so competitive in the finance space. And so I really had to evaluate and see if I wanted to continue making those videos. I'd probably made 40, 50, maybe even a few more than that of those videos, and they just weren't getting traction. And so I decided to pivot a little bit and just try a few other styles of content. And lo and behold, one of them actually worked. Rather than getting 30 to 50 views per video, we started getting like 500 views per video and sometimes 1,000. One of them even took off and got over 70,000 views. Now, that's not to say that that's the only type of content that I want to do, and I still want to continue to try to do some of those other styles and types of content, but it was so refreshing to see something work and to see some amount of success. And so I would highly recommend, if at all possible, go try something just a little bit new, something that pushes the boundary. You'll oftentimes find some success there. And if not, you'll at least learn that that's not something that's gonna work yet. And you can check it off and try something else. At the end of the day, probably the most important thing here is that you just don't give up. And when you're struggling to grow on YouTube, that's not easy to do because you're feeling discouraged, you feel defeated, you feel like nothing's working, you feel like you're doing this for nothing. No one's watching your videos. It can be really hard to not give up. And I hope that you feel that I understand where you're coming from. I've tried to grow so many channels, and some of them have been successful and some of them just haven't. And it hurts every single time when it's not working. So at all costs, please avoid burning out. If you need to take a little bit of a break and reevaluate, then do that. If you want to just kind of double down and grind it out, that's also okay. but there's not really one right answer here. Overall, the right answer is to just keep going if this is something that you really want to see yourself doing in the next couple of years. But again, take it a day at a time and just realize that this is a long-term game. It's not something that's gonna happen overnight for most of us. I mean, I wish it was. I wish that I could tell you that it was gonna be super, super easy, but the reality is being a creator is a lot of hard work, and it takes dedication, and it just takes a lot of time. Not to get too heart to heart with you, but I know that being a creator is tough, and I want you to make sure that you feel supported. That's our goal here on this channel, is just to help support creators through whatever it is they're going through. And so if there's anything that we can do to help support you, please let me know in the comments. I'm gonna try to get to as many as I can. I want you to feel supported. We really appreciate you being here and being a part of this supportive community that we've built on this channel. And I hope that you feel like as much as you give, you also get back. Thank you, channel makers, for being here, and we'll see you in the next one. Oh, and if you are looking for subscribers or watch hours, there's a couple videos that I'll put here that are gonna fit your needs really, really well. Go check those out if you happen to fall in that bucket. If not, let me know down in the comments what you need, and I'll try to point you in the right direction. See you, channel makers.